Good day everyone. I am Alexander D. Lubiano, Bachelor of Science in Criminology, Section 3B, and welcome to my final vlog. And now, for today's video, we will going to discuss about life and works of Jose Rizal. And um, so the public should be cautious against the overemphasizing Rizal's love life to the neglect of the other thing that Rizal has done. This line got my attention because besides I've noticed that some Filipinos sensationalize Rizal's relationship with women to the point where all of his impressive works and the struggles he had to go through were rendered irrelevant. They are obviously expressing opinions that are founded on topics that should not be brought up for the purposes of praise or humor. For my part, I can emphasize with Rizal because I know that despite of all our effort, the sacrifices we make, and the hard work we put in, there will always be those who point out the things that we are lacking, who can see the darkest side of us. Everything that I had built and labored for in for in the came crashing down around me. There were times when someone would look at the negative aspects rather than concentrating on what it was that the on was that we actually did right. They are going to continue looking loopholes despite the fact that we have completed the significant part. Every time someone views me in that light, I get a bad feeling. However, I must face the reality that we will not be able to satisfy everyone. So because I know myself better than anyone else, thus I should ignore what other people think about me and just concentrate on doing what is best for me. One of the societal issues that I have learned about through reading about this topic is that people often let the opinions of others cloud their judgment. People who delight in tarnishing the reputations of others or other treated his work with the same deference as they did the results, and the result was the his effort were ignored. This has had an impact on me as a young person and as a student because it has given me the knowledge to demonstrate the result was more than what they had perceived him to be. So his work should not be forgotten, and every young Filipino should be taught that he is our national hero because of his bravery. And his bravery was what made him a national hero. It is my opinion that the people of the Philippines should read about and concentrate on the contribution that Jose Rizal made to our society, rather than rather than his sexual life, which is natural, given that he was also a man. Uh, so between the nationalists who were in favor of the bill and the Catholic hierarchy who were fighting it. So this is cited on page 98, and is one of the reason of Senator Recto to filing the bill. It has recently occurred to me that despite the passage of time since Rizal period, there are still significant amount of hostility between nationalist group and people of the Catholic faith. It was abundantly clear that opposition existed with the Senate, particularly among those who have ties to the Archbishop. I believe that the scandalous depiction of friars in Rizal's works were the impetus behind the Catholic Church opposition to the implementation of Rizal Law. If all Filipinos were to read these kinds of books, there is a significant change that some of them would develop an aversion to the religion in and of itself. They are concerned that every will misunderstand and become confused with the situation both in the past and in the present. In my opinion, the implications of this society are that the truth, despite how complicated it may be, must be uncovered. During the time that they were in power, the friars oppressed and mistreated the people of the Philippines. So this is fact. The first decade was a golden age for them, but as the years went by, the they became cruel and greedy for power. So as the stand right now, it appears that Filipino have understanding of the complexities of the Spanish regime. So friars and officials of the Spanish government both caused the people of the Philippines to live in hell. So however, as a result of this, we have Roman Catholicism, a higher level of education, and we have adopted many of their cultural practices. These are just some of the benefits that we have obtained. My point is my point is that we must gain wisdom from the past, and it is not ethical to prevent history from being taught to future generation. So I can only think of a few problems in society that Rizal writing address, such an inequality in social status, abuse of power and authority, and lack of education. On page 20 and 21, Rizal's published work Noli Me Tangere gives an honest look at the problem that plagues society. It shows how unfair the system was at that time, when the rich could get whatever they wanted, while the poor had to constantly struggle to stay alive. In fact, it is applicable because there are still individuals living on the streets who are struggling to make minimal living owing to poverty. It's possible that overpopulation is a contributing factor to why there's still such a high unemployment high unemployment rate. But I also think that the corrupt behavior of people in the government has had a big effect on the country as a whole. Abusive behavior from the people in power is bad from the country as a whole. So they were supposed to move the country forward, but instead they got the country into a lot of debt. Because of this, I think it's important to have a good government. Also, not having enough education is a big problem. So especially in this day and an age, without any kind of education, it's hard for me to apply for a jobs. If I can't understand what I'm reading, it will be easily for other people to trick me. Because of this, education is important not just now but also in the future. Because these are the problem are still happening in our generation. They have affected my life as a young person and as student. If my parents can pay for my education, it will affect me in a big way. I would not have a chance to surviving if I could not read, write, and understand. This is especially true in the cities where can artists are always around every corner. So the present system of government of the Philippines, through corrupt and self-seeking official, dominated by the friars and subservient to their interest. This praise is found in page 28. Whereas the content of El Filibusterismo were being discussed, As a tackled, as a tackled in our previous lessons, I have learned that friars are really are the one who order the government official to make devious act. Like for example, the displacement in Calamba, where Governor General Weyer ordered troops to enter the province and mercilessly, mercilessly, mercilessly the properties of people without any notice. So the Spanish government was extremely brutal to the people of the Philippines. So they are a disease on society and manipulators of its most vulnerable members. In a manner analogous to that of a cancer, they gradually spread cause of chaos on every aspect of society. And if the destruction isn't stopped in the death of the hosts in the present day, despite the fact that we have been liberated from colonizers, there is pervasive belief that we are being held uh, captive by the corrupt practices and abuses of our government. So, the vision of Father Rodriguez, also known in Spanish as La Vision del Fray Rodriguez, is a pamphlet created by Rizal as a counter-attack towards Father Rodriguez on his Noli Me Tangere. The biggest societal issue I've seen in this work is the never-ending interference of a religious individual in the community. Just like in the present. For example, if they observe that President Rodrigo Roa Duterte actions are against the human rights and or morality, they would question his presidency. So same-sex marriage is one of the common issue observed in our country. The law accepting this kind of marriage is not applicable in our place because the main objection to this was the charges. Uh, two people two people of the same-sex marriage cannot be married because it is not right, morally right, and it would be a sin. I brought this topic because if it were presented during the time of Rizal, I'm sure the friars would be upset too. Just like how they criticize Noli Me Tangere. They would eventually do do it to every topic they found sinful. So I couldn't understand why friars were given limitless privilege and authority during Rizal time. They were obviously hypocrites, doing sinful things they taught people not to do. So they were even rumored to have had children or friars who sexually abused innocent girls. So yet they continue to teach ethics, morals, and words of God. Despite their behaviors, they truly don't have conscience at all. This has affected me as a student and as a youth because I was born believing that all friars are good. But I guess that ideas was rejected when I realized their wrongdoing during their 333 years of colonization. So, by the telephone, in Spanish, is por telefono, was written by Jose P. Rizal. It was published in 1889 as a reply to a friar named Father Salvador Font in connection to his discriminations against Noli Me Tangere, and for initiating the banning of Noli in the fall of 1889. It is said to be full of symbolism. It reveals how priors live their lives and how they give things for the donations given by Ilustrados. Sometimes, like Rizal, I lose myself, fight them, and settle myself at their level. When someone makes a terrible criticism of one of my loved ones, I am human too. I am human too. So I have limits, and when I burst them, I get revenge, despite that attitude. So I always teach myself to save patience, so I won't be dealing with such worthless people. Even though sometimes it's hard. So at least I'm trying. So just by doing it, I felt contented. So I believe that revenge is somewhat helpful because you'll be able to express yourself. So fight for yourself and your principles as well. And it's not good to always hide and be kind, because eventually that person will abuse your kindness and will get everything good in your heart. Sometimes it's okay to be bold. It's okay to be bold if it means stopping the wrong doings. So the letters that Rizal's and Father Pastel wrote to each other were interesting. Father Pastels cared about Rizal, and he tried to get Rizal to go back to his faith and retract many times. But Rizal, who has given a death sentence, of he did not change his mind, was determined to stand on his own and choose to live in Captain or Capitan Carnero's house. So over the course of several messages, they had long philosophical and religious discussions. I can relate to results because I am responsible for what I do. If I promise or swear to do something, I will do it until my last breath. If I had started what I had planned, I would finish it myself. If I don't need help, I won't ask for it, because I say what I mean. As for my faith, I believe in a supreme being, just like Rizal. But I also believe in Jesus. Which he did not. So I'm glad I have this faith, because uh, it's what my parents and the church taught me, and I'm sure I'll teach into my own children when I have them. Today we can tell someone Today we can tell someone how to worship, because we have the right to choose to our own. In the past, forced to do what was right, even if they did not agree with it. So, dyan lang tatapos ang ating vlog, at thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and click the notification button for more updates.